This is the Blackout Podcast.
Yo, thanks, Jacob, for coming in.
Thanks for having me, man.
Actually, I gotta ask first, what's the story behind the name Kid Coffin?
So Coffin is what usually everybody calls me. It's my last name. I've been called that since about grade 2. There was 2 Jacob C's in the class, and it just, they basically just switched me into my last name. So originally my rat name was Coffin, and that was when I was 17. And then I found out that it was actually copyrighted by a skate punk band in Australia.
Oh, wow.
So even if it's your last name in the music industry, like in the music business, you still can't use it. So, we're all sitting on the bus, and I'm just like, oh man, like they're like, you got to change your name. I'm like, no, but Coffin, there's so much that is like, it's me. It's like, it's got to have something. So we're all just like shooting names after it. And I just said Kid, and then I was 17 at the time. So everyone was like, Kid Coffin. That kind of works. It was literally just tossing names around with my buddies, and they were like, yeah, that's the one. That's the one. And then I got all my social media and everything set up. So now if anybody tries to take it, somebody did actually. Somebody tried to take my name. They started making music under the name Kid Coffin. I sent him a message like, hey man, I've been doing this for quite a little while. I gotta respectfully ask you to change your name. And he did, which was nice. But yeah, no, it just literally comes off my last name there. And then at the time when I started rapping, I was 17. So just, the kid essentially, right? I've always been the kid in most situations. So.
Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
So, I was just kind of like, the high school kid who didn't do much, hung around with the bad crowd, got out of high school, didn't have like amazing grades, didn't know really what I wanted to do with my life. And I've always found music was a really good outlet for anger. I was picked on a lot as a kid, went through a lot of traumatic stuff, like bullied.
Yeah, but I don't know, you're fucking huge.
Yeah, right? You wouldn't think that. Back then I was a pretty small guy. I kind of had a growth spurt at around grade 9, grade 8. But yeah, I know I had a lot of issues with bullying. I got stabbed in junior high during class. Like there was a bunch of big incidents like that, and that's when I moved to the city. And so music for me was always something that like I can like let my anger. I listen to like really aggressive, really heavy music, and then that's when I started rapping. Most of my first songs were like really angry and angsty, and a lot still are. But I find now it's a bit more perfected, and the direction is a bit more, talking about a certain topic than me just screaming or sounding really upset on a microphone. But yeah, no, I just love making music, having a good time, and getting down.
So what was music? You started with rapping at 17. What was your influence that time?
For me, honestly, Eminem is a huge influence of mine. He got me through a lot of hard times. Basically, when I was 4 years old, the first rap song I ever heard was "Lose Yourself" by Eminem, and then it just kind of like snowballed. And I know the white boy with the white rapper, but it was just really relatable for me. His dad was in the picture, my dad wasn't in the picture, and it just kind of like everything he said, I could just really feel on an emotional level. So until I was 14, I didn't listen to anybody but Eminem.
Oh wow!
I wouldn't. I would like check this new Kanye. Like Eminem's my guy. I don't care about anybody else. And then when I turned 15, I was like, all right, time to grow up a little bit here. And I started checking. So I see some of my biggest influence are like Eminem, Cypress Hill, Scarlord. He's a pretty new wave rapper there. And then some producers are like Idealism. I like what Mike Will made it. I don't like the type of tracks, but I love the beats. His beats are insane. But yeah, those are just a couple there. I pull influences from everywhere.
And you said you started writing angry tracks. Was that from all the bullying or?
Yeah, a lot of it started out me like getting back at the bullies and like the things, and that's one of the albums I'm working on right now. It's a very conceptual album we're working on for a year. But no, it kind of started like a cappella kind of stuff, and it was just kind of me like saying how many times can I rhyme this word, or like kind of like more of like a really lyrical, like compact, like how many things can I make rhyme in a sentence more than just like the yeah and the a and the ooh and like the party stuff. But yeah, no, just sitting in class with a notebook, essentially just writing down my thoughts, and then it kind of progressed into actual lyrics.
Still do the notebook now?
Yeah, still do the notebook.
And so notebook versus phone, how's that for you?
I like the notebook. Like if I'm sitting down and I'm thinking of an idea and I have a concept, I need a notebook. Can't do it on the phone. Need to write ideas in the corner, brainstorm. But when I'm on the go, like if I just hear a beat and I'm just like, oh, that's a good line, I find the phone is, you can get it down much faster, right? For me, it all depends on what I'm doing. But there's a really unique feeling about a pen and pad that I feel like you just can't get anywhere.
And the concept album?
The concept album I'm working on is called I Was Bullied, and it talks a lot about the dark side of, bullied kids and what goes through their mind. So, for instance, there's a song on there called If I Have to Suffer, Then They Have to Suffer, and the whole point of the song is if I went through this, you have to too. So it's basically the bullies put me through a bunch of stuff on the first verse, and in the second verse, I retaliate and I do the same things to them. And I basically tell them like, well, how do you like it now that the roles are reversed? And then another song's called Suicide, and it's literally a kid committing suicide because he can't take it anymore. It's like a really heavy metal scream type song. And then there's another one where it's like Final Thoughts, and it's just like the bully, the kid who was bullied, basically just like looking back on everything and just like, basically just saying like, honestly, I just wanted to be left alone, just wanted to make friends, just wanted to go to school, peaceful. It's a very conceptual album, and it's all produced by the same guy.
Oh wow.
Every beat is the same guy.
Isn't that is there a particular reason why you took that route?
Just because I told him the idea, and this guy, he usually does a lot more uplifting stuff, and we were really good friends. We went to college together, like a really good dude. Shout out to Michael Corleone there, young Corleone. But no, I just connected with him. I was just like, man, this is my idea. Like, I really want to do this. I've been wanting to do this for a long time. And he's like, yeah, man, I'm on it. And then he maybe sent me a course, maybe over 15 different beats. And then there was 5 in there I really liked. And I was like, yeah, we're going to make it an EP. And I just wanted to work with somebody and have them on the same vision wavelength than having like 4 different producers and them just looking at it like, oh, it's just another job or it's just another beat, while this producer's like, okay, no, I am the producer on the album. So that was the kind of the way I looked at it.
Isn't that a little pressure for the guy?
Yeah, I was finding he was sending me there were some beats like, hey man, they sound really similar, but like he takes pressure pretty well. He was pretty well with it. He was sending me probably a good 5 beats a week there, so no, he has no problem cranking those out. That's what he does. He just locks himself in his bedroom.
Has he done any other beats?
Yeah, he's raps too. He's got stuff on SoundCloud. He's got some stuff on iTunes that was like, it's got like over 10,000 listens. Like the guy's really talented. He's got a really soft, deep voice. Yeah, check him out on SoundCloud there, Young Corleone. He's done beats for like Chell. He's done beats for a bunch of different artists. A lot of them up in Clare there in the French Acadia.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, no, he's a super good guy.
So, like, has he done other beats for you?
Oh yeah. Like, I've got like 2 tracks that I've got done, just haven't put out, that he's done the beats for. But most of the beats he's done for me is on that specific.
And who did
project.
Rapture?
Rapture was Theo, so Rapture's a whole different producer. I actually have another album where he's producing the whole thing himself as well.
Okay, is that a thing for you?
Yeah, it's just, for me, it's just like if I'm working on a project, and I work with the same guy, it's like we both have the same vision. I don't know, like it won't be like every time. Like I'll definitely like have an album with a bunch of different producers, but it's just been that album is more a concept, like a collab album. Like we'll have both of our names on it.
Oh, okay.
And what he does, he's actually an orchestral producer.
Oh.
So he does like orchestral scores.
Yeah. So you're rapping to stuff like that?
Yeah.
Wow.
But he influences it with hip hop. So they're hip hop beats, but if you listen to the background, there's a lot of orchestral scores and melodies and double entendres happening.
Huh.
Yeah, it's really interesting and really complex.
What will you call that one?
That album's called Psychosis. That album's called Psychosis, and that album is about all the thoughts and the voices in your head. It's another very dark project. A lot of my stuff is pretty dark.
Who does your album art?
Album art? He did the album art. The producer did the album art for that one, and then for the I Was Bullied one, I've got a guy named Ethics at Ethics Designs. You got to check him out there. He's in Ontario. Okay. And he's like he's an award-winning graphic designer.
How did you meet him?
My buddy recommended him to me. I was telling him like I really wanted like a professional artwork, and my buddy sent me over to him, and we got connected, and he was right on it.
What was I know it's easier working with someone I can see here, and what's the process like working with a designer from pretty much is just online.
Yeah, that it was difficult at times, like trying to, like I would send him a text of what I want, and then I would take a voice recording and be like, "Hey man," just so you can like hear it from like a vocal perspective. But he took what I wanted like really well, and he pretty much gave me exactly what I wanted. Like the front cover for "I Was Bullied" is it's a classroom with 3 rows of desks with different things on the desk, doodles on the drawing board, and in really frantic writing, "I was bullied" on the chalkboard, and he gave me just that. Everything he sent me, that guy, I've only had like one small edit, and he usually gets it right on the spot there. He's just a really talented graphic designer. He really knows what people are looking for.
So, I mean, I gotta ask about it. I know you just mentioned it in passing, but part of one of the experiences you had being bullied involved you getting stabbed.
Yeah.
What happened?
So, I was in grade 7, and we were finishing class, and I was kind of like just walking away from a locker, walking out of the classroom down the hallway. And one of the kids that, picked on me often came up to me. He was in 2 grades up. He just starts pushing me. And then for the first time, I pushed him back. I was like, no, like, you're not going to do this. And then he had a pencil in his hand, and he went to push me, and he kind of just went like this, and he stabbed me in my chest there. It went about 4 inches into my chest cavity, and it was pretty close to hitting an artery.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically everyone, the way I had it, I was leaning on the locker. Everyone thought it was like in my arm. Then when I lift up, and they can clearly see that I'm bleeding. So everyone's screaming, freaking out. The teacher comes out. He sarcastically looks at me and he goes, "This is what happens when you kids mess around." And I was like, that's not what happened, actually, at all. But anyway, it took me down to the office, and it was really messed up, the rest of that story. The teacher put his foot on my shoulder, and he's trying to yank it out.
What the?
Yeah, and can't get it out because it's in there.
Yeah.
And so they didn't call an ambulance. They called my father. They called my mother, actually. And they're like, "Yeah, your son's been stabbed. Just kind of like want you to know."
Was this in Halifax?
Yeah, this not a school in Halifax. It's a school outside of Halifax, Brookside. It's in Prospect Road. It's in the country.
Okay.
And basically, they call my mother, like, "What would you like to do?" She's like, "Call an ambulance." They're like, "Well, we don't really know if that's necessary or not." So anyway, they didn't call an ambulance. I ended up walking to the pharmacy across the street, the pharmacy there, and they're like, "Well, we can't help you here." Like, what are we gonna do? Like, give you some Robitussin? Anyway, I went to the hospital. Came back to school 2 weeks later. Didn't move from the school at that point, and then it kind of got to a point where one day I had pink eye in school, and everyone made a big fuss. My mother said, "This is ridiculous. We're changing schools."
Yeah.
And then we moved to the city. It wasn't just because of that. My parents were expanding their business. They're real estate agents.
Okay.
But at the time, it just kind of like, yeah, this is ridiculous, and we need to get out of here. I don't know, really. It was just kind of like, some kids, they just grow up and they're just the picked on kid, and that was just kind of my the thing that happened to me. But I'm kind of glad it happened because it builds a lot of character, and it definitely has a lot of.
But you said your parents are moving their business to the city, but I think you said your father wasn't in the picture.
Yeah. Oh, my stepfather.
Gotcha.
And my mother.
Gotcha.
But which he is the way I look at it is like I got my real father and he's my dad.
Gotcha.
Sort of thing, right?
Gotcha.
But yes, then we moved to the city in grade 8, grade 9 there, and then that's kind of like it was a pretty big change. It was a really big change, especially culturally. Because in my school, there was maybe one person of African descent. And then when I moved to the city and I realized like that's the majority in the city, it was definitely a culture shock. Not as much for me, more just like getting the slang down and like the way you act, like the whole like props, like this. That took me a minute to learn. Like that took me a solid, like he was like, "Hey man, what's up?" And I'm like, "Hey, nice to meet you." And they're like, "Dude, what are you doing, cuz?" And I'm like, what does cuz mean? He's like, "Oh man, you got so much to learn, right?" But no, it was great. It was a really good change, and like it was really needed, especially for musically. It was needed.
So did you? I mean, were you the white kid that rapped? Like,
yeah, essentially, yeah. I was the big 6'6" white kid that had bars. Yeah, no, that was, and that's how I started, was a cappella freestyling. So like basically, like we would play a game. Like if you would just shoot me a word right now, I make 2 bars out of that. Then you shoot me another word, make another 2 bars, make another word. And it's just kind of like a fun little game used to play in junior high and high school, sort of thing.
Wow.
But I wouldn't say I really started developing musically till college, and then I was around people who were doing music. And,
So what happened? Oh yeah, you were saying.
well, I took the music business program when I was 17 there, out of high school there
okay.
at NSCC. And then that's where I met the producer for the I Was Bullied album, the producer for the Psychosis album. They were both in my class.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's how we made that connection there.
Cool. So what's hip hop? What's your experience of hip hop like in Halifax?
I feel it's very egotistical. I
How?
feel it in the sense of I feel like everybody. It's not like you go to a rock or a punk set. One of the only occasions I'll say that I don't feel like that is literally a Frantics Get Down. Frantics Get Down. Everyone's super positive. Everyone's networking, connecting. But I feel like the big plan, like the hip hop shows, I feel like it's too much of, everybody just wants to party. Everybody just like, and I feel it's super competitive. It's not like, oh man, that was a great set. Like I love your stuff. This and that. It's like, no, I can rap better than you can. Do you know what I mean? Like in a rock punk show, they'll be like, oh man, yeah, your stuff was weird, different. Oh, your stuff is good. As in a rap show, it's like, yeah, that's good, but like I got better bars. Like I can do it better. Like I just feel there's so much more competitiveness, and I feel like if that was toned down a bit, the hip hop community would be a lot more closely knit in Halifax. I feel like it needs a bit of building. But especially underground, like the people that are at the bottom, not the established artists. But it is strong, and Halifax definitely is a hub for hip hop. It can be a huge scene, but I feel like it does need a little work in some areas.
Okay. How did you get on the Get Down?
The Get Down, so Frantic. I first met Frantic in the Underdogs. Man, I think I met them through a friend at a party or something. We went on tour together. We did a tour. And then Frantic started doing the show. And I was, it's shout out to Frantic, too, for doing a weekly hip hop show. Like, we need that so much here in Halifax. And I started at Over the Hump. And then he just, he loves my stuff. Like, I love his stuff. And, I'm always there on time, early for my set, reliable. And then he just, every couple shows, he always asks me to come. And I'm like, hell yeah, I'm always down. So that's just kind of how that started, just through a friendship.
So I was at the Get Down. You started with Buddies, and then you went right away to this love song.
yeah.
I was like, what?
Yeah. It's weird. So I'm trying to find a middle ground with my music, because I'm finding right now it's either super dark and extreme and super heavy topics, or it's la 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 la. I'm trying to find that middle ground.
Yeah.
But no, it's usually I'll bring two sets. So I have some light jazzy stuff on some street hip hop beats that I'll do that are really fast paced and lyrical. And then I have my really dark stuff, so my Body's the Rapture, and usually I'll bring both sets and I'll kind of walk into the crowd, see what the crowd's vibe is, and depending on that, I'll choose my set from there. But recently I've decided to try to mix and match them just to get people's reaction.
Yeah, right? I liked it. It was refreshing for me because you start with Boyle. Well, it was a great wake up because it was the first act, right?
Yeah.
It started. I was like, what? And then that happened. What would be great is if it's the same person that produced both beats. It's not though.
Right. Yeah. No, those were actually all produced by different people. The Rapture ones produced different. But yeah, I got to start branching out my producers a bit more. Those two are usually my main guys.
Yeah. So how did what's the second song called?
The second song was called "I'm Sorry I Like You." It's about a girl I fell in love with who didn't like me back at all. As most of the four of my love songs are. It was just about this girl that I met, super positive. I started really liking her, and then I kind of over time, I could have kind of saw she's not the person that I thought she was. So it's I'm sorry to myself that I like you, because I do. But then it's... and then the song kind of near the end, it kind of talks about how you're just playing me, and this is not it's not what it seems. So yeah, just kind of something to give people a break from the hardcore yelling and screaming and
so
that sort of thing.
Do you need stuff for your head after all the shouting? Do you get a headache after the show?
A little bit. I mean, I really listen to heavy music, so that
okay.
I'm listening to that kind of stuff all the time. Like if I'm walking down the street in a good mood, I'm probably listening to somebody in the head going, that's just what I love listening to. But yeah, no. So the Rapture song, that's actually when you saw it was the second time I've ever performed it ever live. So I'm still working on the screaming and the voice control. But yeah, after doing that song, I definitely need a lot of water. And my voice is sore for the next day. For sure, because I haven't mastered how to properly scream.
Okay.
But it's a lot of fun. You just
Yeah.
It's great.
I mean,
love
it's great seeing someone perform and they're enjoying their song.
Right.
And they're not just performing because it's a show.
Right.
That's always great to see.
And I like to think my stuff is pretty different from what the average
It's
hip
super
hop
different.
artist
Yeah.
does, which kind of gives me a little sense of pride.
It does. And it's like there's this niche you have, okay, you want to know, I'm listening to this song as a Kid Coffin song.
Yeah, exactly. It's like nobody. It's like that. There's no mistaking that's that guy. And then like that could be in a sense of like, oh yeah, it's definitely Kid Coffin song, or someone could be like, oh yeah, that's a Kid Coffin song.
Once you were in NSCC,
Right.
doing the music thing, and when did you decide, you know what, I could actually go out and make this a career?
It was probably after I made my first song, which was called No Faith, and it's that one. That's another one about religion and how much I just don't have faith in our society and our system and our religion. It was I've recorded it literally over 100 times.
Why?
Because I think it's such a good song that I will not put it out unless it's absolutely the way I want it to. And it's a very fast paced song, so it's a lot of breath control, like the confounded of the mission that I am be given to inspire desire of a church substance, which is simply a different description consists of vicious papers descripted their image with the Egyptians hieroglyphics. God is forgiven. Then you got Vena. So it's just really fast paced. And when I was first starting out, I didn't have that mastered yet. And so, sorry, I totally forgot the question there. Oh yeah. So after I made that song and I realized how good I am at putting words together, I was like, I can actually do this with practice and work and putting my time in and finding my sound, that I could actually do this. And I think it came to a point where I was playing a show. Maybe it was a good year ago, and this guy was watching me, and I did like my Bodies track. This is before Rapture or any of that. I did Bodies and these two other tracks. I don't really perform anymore. What were they called? Distance and Slow It Down. And again, it was in the middle of finding myself. But anyway, Buddy comes up to me and he goes, "Man, I haven't," and like not even in a drunken like, "Oh yeah," just like in like an actual like sincere like, I have never like felt someone speak to me more than what you just did up there. And when you have someone come up to you and like you work on something and they tell you that, it's like it's such a euphoric feeling, man. And after that one guy said that to me, I kind of sat there and I was like, I can do this. I can do this. You need to put your head down, and you need to work, and you need to practice. Like you got to practice every single day, because if you don't just make like great music, just there's that one in a million time you'll just go woo and it just happens. But most of the time it's practice, especially when you're doing the fast pace, like not the auto tune,
yeah. I was gonna ask you that. One thing I've noticed with your music is there's a lot of storytelling, a lot of listen, I'm taking you on this journey. And with some of the songs these days, it's just listen, I have a cool beat and then a cool hook.
Agreed.
How do you handle that feeling that, you're putting all this work and what seems to be making it out there is a good hook?
Well, and see, and that's what really bugs me, because I feel like I put a lot of storytelling and I a lot of thought provoking stuff into it, and like while the average person's gonna be like, oh, that's kind of cool, but it's like I'm not gonna listen to that over and over. While then there's that person that is in my demographic that's gonna be like, oh, that's like I'll listen to that every single day, right? For me, it's difficult because I can't rap like that. I've tried. I just can't rap like that. I just can't. Just like chilling at the club, shawty wanna hug, it's just not my thing. I've tried. I made one song called In My Jammies, and it's literally a song about getting messed up at the club with the girl, like doing drugs and stuff, but it's all in your jammies. So it's like I pulled up to the club in my jammies. Anyway, sounds like total garbage. It's a trash song. It's garbage. Like garbage. Producer looked at me and he's like, nah, fam, this ain't it. This ain't the one. And so yeah, it's difficult like trying to get especially like new like young kids that are listening to like Migos and Young Thug and those type of guys to sit down and listen to those songs, and maybe not even the super dark ones, just the ones that like have a lot of lyrical skill in them and just kind of like wordplay and things you have to listen to twice to catch. I don't know, it's just the generation nowadays, which is my generation. I feel like it's not. I just feel like they're too so focused on, you know, does the voice sound good? The voice sounds good. It's a hot beat, and you can remember the hook, and it happens 8 times in one song. Then you got a hit. That's literally. What's that? Oh my god, I forget that song. Panda. I got broads in Atlanta, credit cards and the scammers.
Oh, Panda. Yeah, that's literally
Panda.
what it is.
Panda, and I'm just like listening. I'm just like, oh my god, I want to rip my hair out. Like it's the same thing over and over again for 3 minutes. Or no, the worst one's the Gucci Gang one. Oh my god, if I could take that song and just
Which one is
get
Gucci Gang?
by Lil Pump. He's like a really new wave cat. It's like
the
like,
guy
Gucci
that
gang,
did that
Gucci
song
gang,
with
Gucci gang.
he did that song with Kanye West. I actually
Yeah,
like that one.
I love it. Yeah, I hate it.
I like that. I like no, not the song, the video.
Oh, the video is good. Yeah,
I think
like
for
the video.
me, right? I think because I'm a visual person,
Right.
These days, like I don't really listen to what is coming out, but
Right.
some of those videos are good though.
Some
like
of those videos are
like
funny.
the Lil
Yeah,
Pump
yeah.
one, like that.
Oh,
one.
and like I totally respect it, like, you know, and like that's what's popping, that's what's making money. So if you can do that, like go get your bread, like straight up. But it's just like, I don't know. I've tried it and it's just not for me. I just can't do it. And like even when I try to do it, I'm like, I don't feel it myself.
Yeah,
and
you
if
know.
you're making art and even you don't feel it, then like who's going to? Right?
Yeah.
Like you gotta believe in your art, and if you, every track I've made like that, I just don't believe in it. It's great because the producers I work with, they're really honest with me. Like they'd be like, hey man, like maybe you should like tone that back just a little bit. That might be a too much, especially on the dark tracks. They might be, hey man, that lyrics, it's pushing a pretty big line, right? And then like they let me do that sort of thing. But anyway, the main point I was trying to say is my producers, they'll be honest with me. They'll be like, hey man, that's not hot. Hey man, that's, you know, stick to your bodies and your dark stuff. That's you're not a gangbanger from the South Side. You know, throwing it up. You know what I mean? It's just it's not my thing. It's not my thing.
So and do you find that refreshing to have that people being so honest to you with your art?
Yes, I do. And you know, I've had some people come up, hey man, I love it, it's great. And I've had a few people come up and they're like, man, that's really offensive. Like, I don't think you should be allowed to do that. And then I actually like to sit down with those people and kind of like break it down for me, like what offends you? Okay, that offends you. That's a good point. Now, because that offends you, just you, are you saying now that like I should be censored or that I'm not allowed to do that solely because you feel offended? What about the 30 other people in the crowd that love that song? Is it because one person doesn't like it or one person is offended? It ruins it for everybody. It's a fine line, and that's what I love about music. It's all interpretation, right? Like that Rapture song, I had someone who's really religious listen to it, and you know thought it was like god awful, just blasphemy, and just straight up lying. You know, about like the Bible and things like that. Well, I've had other people like, that's really thought provoking. Like I've never looked at it that way. Like one of the lines about Jesus that I had. I gotta try to remember it. Oh yeah, one of the lines is Noah. God said Noah, kill your son Isaac. God said Abraham, kill your son Isaac. The Lord said and decided. They say, obey your Lord, or your soul will become divided. So your Lord wants you to slip a sword into your son's vocal cord just for you to worship him more. It's like things to think about. Like that whole story about Abraham and Isaac. He literally got him on top of an obelisk, tied his son down, was about to kill his only son, and then God was like, no. All right, I believe you. You believe in me. It's like things. Anyway, so it's like I look at those kind of things and I'm just like, nah, someone's got to like say something about that. Like that's ridiculous, right? And so like that's like songs like Rapture and Bodies, or I have a lot of my songs surround religion for some reason. I don't know. There's something that bothers me about somebody devoting their life to something and then not, you know, without actual any evidence. And I'm not saying it's wrong. Like it's not wrong believing what you want to believe. If you want to devote your life to something like that, like by all means, that's your right as a human being. But personally, like I won't take my son or daughter to church. When I have a son or daughter, I'm not going to make them go to church. I'm not going to, if they say, hey, Pops, like, I want to go to church, fine. Yeah, we'll definitely go to church. But I'm not going to be that parent that's like, oh, you need to get baptized. Oh, you need to, go to confession. Oh, you need to do this. I find one of the things that really antagonizes me is when parents and people force religion on their kids. It drives me nuts. It drives me nuts. And not even I know they're doing it for the right reasons, but I just don't believe it's right. And like, I believe there's something, I just don't believe it's a man sitting in the sky, with heaven and hell fighting this war. But I mean, but then again, it's all interpretation, those sort of things, right? Religion, art. And I guess that's why I love talking about it is that there's so many people with so many different thoughts. So yeah, I'm not a Christian or a Catholic or a Muslim or a Buddhist by any standards there for sure. But yeah, it's just something about religion. I always find I can always spark something, and I always find you could push someone's buttons with it, which I really like to do with my art.
So, do you believe in something?
Yeah, I mean, I believe in there's some sort of energy out there. There's I believe that in each religion, each individual religion, there's something you can take from that religion that's like follow that. Like that's a good thing to follow. But then I find that the most 80 to 85% of the rest of it is just it's just more of what they want you to do, what they want you to think, what they want you to believe. And like I'm not an expert on religions by any means. I took a religions class in high school. It was my favorite class. It was my favorite class throughout my whole educational career.
Why?
I just loved it. You learn about the different religions and different cultures and just like different things that people believe, and I just find it super interesting. But yeah, no, it's just something artistically always comes back around to me. Religion, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is.
So you do it all yourself?
Yeah, the songwriting, the performance, the beats I don't usually do. I've tried beat making. I've made a couple. I need to upgrade my setup a little bit there. But I've made maybe like 3 beats, and I mean, I think they're all right, but they're not Pound Cake or Forever by Drake by any means. But yeah, no, all the lyrics. That's one thing I really pride myself on is all my lyrics are mine. That's probably like as an artist my biggest thing I cling to is my lyrics.
And then on the business side, you like everything yourself? Put your music out yourself?
Yeah, distributing it, promotion, getting graphic designers, marketing, how we're gonna push it, planning the cycle. Yeah, I usually do that myself.
How do you find it doing that all on your own?
It's hard, and I find you get to a certain point where you start like, oh man, this is just a lot of work here. It's like, is the song even that good? Like, is all this money I'm gonna put into this, gonna be worth it? But then I kind of snap out of it and I go, no, like. People go out through their entire lives planning everything and then they never execute it, and it's like it needs to be, even if you feel that's one of my biggest problems as an artist is every time I create something and I finish it, I'm always like, oh, that could be better, oh, that part could be a little bit more hard, oh, that part could be so I'm always like, oh, this could change, and you just got to get to the point where no, like you put your heart and your soul into that, put it out, and then see what happens, right? But yeah, no, I find that really difficult, especially just paying for promotion and paying for your online marketing. It's expensive, especially when you're working a minimum wage job.
That's what I was actually going to go to. So how do you fund your art?
Essentially, just by working my job, side hustles here and there. Like, in the wintertime, I'll go out with my little brother. We'll go door to door, snow shoveling people's, yards, doing yard work, helping my parents out with their business, every way I can.
So what's your job now? Like your day job?
My day job is I work nights. I'm a bouncer at the lower deck.
It's
bar
ironic.
downtown.
Well, not ironic. I guess it's like you started out being bullied, and now you're big enough that you're a bouncer. stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. It's kind of funny how that works out. Yeah, exactly. Well, and I tell that to everybody, and they look at me and they go, "Really?" And I was like, "Yeah, I wasn't always this big." Right?
So how's it like being a bouncer in the city?
Oh, I love it. It's such an interesting job. It is so. It's a lot of people can't do it because a lot of people aren't good with confrontation and just dealing with people and knowing that a situation could escalate physically. But I find it so exciting. It's the first job I've ever worked where I'm happy to go to work.
What? Why?
It's just babysitting. It's literally just babysitting. You're just sitting there on the wall listening to live music and you're just watching everybody. It's so much fun. I don't know what it is, and it's not even like a power hungry thing. It's just literally just like, hey man, like you're gonna have to chill out just a little bit there. Yeah, finish your beer. Yeah, you can finish your beer, but after that, like you're not coming back. I don't know. I just enjoy it. I just love talking to people.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, any interesting stories from like your job?
Oh geez, yeah. How descriptive can I get on here?
Go for it.
Oh my god. Okay. So last summer we have this thing called a patio party, and essentially what happens is they rent out the whole historic property's patio. So it's like a good 200 people, and we're all gated up, and there's like 8 bouncers outside. So I'm working the back gate, and this guy comes up to me, and good thing you can see the visual representation of this. He comes up to me and he goes, "Hey man, can I get in?" And he's like rubbing himself, and he's like, the guy's high. The guy's like took drugs, right? And I'm just like, "Hey man, you can't get in. Like you're really messed up right now." And he's like, "Man, I didn't even have anything to drink." And I was like, "Oh, I'm not saying you did. I think you did something else." And he's like, "Oh, come on, man. Like just let me in." And I'm just like, "Nah, man." Like I keep arguing with him for a minute. So all of a sudden he does the little push, and I'm like, "Oh, don't start that, buddy." And my bouncer across the way, he comes over, he sees what's going on. So buddy swings on me, like starts punching me. So we start beating him. We not beating him, but like holding him back and like pressing him to the ground and putting him in a hold, right? Getting him off the premises. We get him off, and he's like, "Man, whatever, dude." And he's like, walks away. No blood, no torn up shirt, no nothing. 20 minutes later, he comes back around the corner. This guy's nose is broken. He's got blood all over his face. He's wearing his shirt in half, and like Buddy got his ass kicked. Comes up to me and he goes, "Hey man, can I get in?" And I'm just like, oh man, no, I'm gonna have to call the cops, dude. Like you're out of it. And yeah, that's probably the craziest story by far. Yeah, it's so messed up. And like a lot of people like in that situation, they're just kind of like they don't know what to say, right? They're just kind of like, "Oh man, like I don't want to talk to this guy, but like that's what they pay me for, right?" And I was like, "Hey man, like listen, been there." Like, I totally understand, but like you need to go home.
Yeah,
you need to go home. Like, because if I'm a cop and I see you from a mile away, we're gonna have a chat. Yeah.
So, what's the story behind Buddies and the story behind Rapture? Because those ones really stand out.
For me, Bodies. So Bodies started out. I wanted to create a song that would make people get offended. That's what Bodies started. Literally, that was the premise. Like, I want to say stuff that's going to offend people. So a couple lines out of there was like, "Don't be so scared. Pull up a chair. She starts to scream as I rough up her hair," which is talk about domestic violence. And then another song, the Vegas shooting that happened at the I believe it was Ariana Grande's concert.
I can't remember.
in Vegas. Anyway, so one of the lines is like, get down, shots from the crowd, view from the 32nd floor looking down," which is where the shooter was. Headshot, next shot. And so literally that song was, I wanted to create a very dark piece of art that is going to offend people, but at the same time it puts a feeling in you. And the bodies on bodies course, that is just describing on how when we all pass, when we all die, we all turn into a body. And that it just seems like nowadays it's something happens this week, like 4 people killed, drive-by shooting. 2 days later, something else happens. You totally forget about what just happened.
Yeah, I know, right?
And it snowballs to the point where, there's been like maybe 400,000 people killed in the last year on stories that are just so messed up, but you don't remember it because everything, social media is boom, boom, boom. You're getting alerts left and right. There's too much going on, right? So that's where Bodies came from. Bodies was literally to offend people in such a way that was talking about the violence and how much violence there is in the world. Rapture was a bit more. Rapture just kind of happened. It was a bit more from a religious standpoint. So the chorus being like, step to the throne, you will atone. When you die, you go up to whatever God you believe in, to their throne, and you atone for whatever your sins. And then, but instead of like atoning for your sins, it's lighting your skin till I get to the bone. So it's I believe the whole song is basically like, so the story of the rapture, how the good people go to heaven, the bad people stay on earth, and then there's the fight with hell and everything. So from me rapping it, I'm one of the person that got left behind. So like, instead of step to the throne, you will atone, and letting me into your lovely home, I'm lighting your skin to your bone. Where do you roam? Thanks for inviting me into your home. And then into your home. Rapture came from a different, a more religious standpoint. And I think I had a couple drinks when I made that song too, writing it. I definitely had a couple drinks. But that was less, that was less of like, oh, I want to offend this, or like, I want to provoke this. And I was just like, basically my thoughts on religion, specifically Christianity, just because that religion's the one that's in my family. Yeah.
So, art, I mean, you've created art, you are creating art, and you have plans for the new year. What things do you do to keep it going?
That's a very good question. Sometimes I find myself in ruts. Like, I'm a bit of a rut right now. Like, I'm writing lyrics every day, but I haven't made a song probably in the last month or so. And I find once you get in those, the best thing for me, I'll just play beats and beats over and over again, and I'll just kind of sit in a dark room, and I'll just kind of like sit with my legs crossed, and I'll just listen to it over and over again, and I'll just it's weird. It's like when I close my eyes, I can see the words in front of my face, and I just try to put them together. And I find when I'm in a rut, that just sitting in a dark space with, I know, dark this, dark that, blood and guts and everything, but like in like a positive state, and listening to more positive stuff, and just kind of, and then the thoughts start to come when you don't have any distractions, like putting your phone, laptop, all those things away, and it's just you and the notebook. But to keep it going, music-wise, I just keep looking back at the stuff I've done, and like, I can do better than that. I can do better than that. Like, we can, progress and progress and progress. So I'd say that's probably my thing, is just look back on your previous work and just know that like you can tell how much you're improving.
What are things you feel that we haven't touched that you want to get across?
I guess the big thing for me, and especially in art, and I guess if I could just say it, and like, if I want to leave any impression on people, is don't take everything you see at face value. Always research. Always, someone can tell you something, and it's like, all right, now take that. Now look and, okay, where are they coming from? Like, what are their experiences now? What information do they have to back this? And that goes from everything into what the government tells you, the packaging on labels, the ingredients in, the food, just like everything. Always take a closer look at everything, and especially with my music, take a closer look. Like, it's not just the bodies and the blood and the guts. Like, if you read the lyrics and you look at them from like a third perspective, instead of just looking at it at face value, you might see a lot more content than you did before. And if there's anything, like, I love to leave an impression on people, is that, maybe I didn't get super famous. Maybe I didn't, go to LA and I'm sitting there with Drake popping champagne bottles in the club, but you can listen to my music and there's some replay value to it, and it sends you a message. And like, if I can just get that one kid in that one room going through that hard time to listen to that and go, oh, that makes me feel so much better to listen to that and be able to get it out, that would be the ultimate thing I'd love to leave behind.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jacob.
Thank you very much, man. Appreciate you having me, dude.
This is the Blackout Podcast. Thanks for listening.